Do I need a trust? Hello and welcome. I'm attorney Thomas Burton. I'm an estate planning and asset protection attorney here in Wisconsin. And this is the question I get asked frequently in my practice. Do I need a trust? And I was perusing online articles, and in fact, it's a question posed to CNN Money in a retirement series they have on this topic. Now, I've given my opinion before to people that at my practice, in my law practice, I favor using trust to avoid the time, expense, and delay of probate. But I thought it would be interesting for you to hear how CNN Money discusses this in a short form in their retirement planning guide. They say you don't have to be a Rockefeller to need a trust. A trust can be a useful estate planning tool for lots of people. But given the expenses associated with opening one, it's probably not worth it unless you have a certain amount of assets. And I would say that's a very reasonable explanation. But I think the first thing they do there is make clear that when we talk about trust in the estate planning world, for the vast majority of people, the type of trust we're talking about are not the type set up to avoid estate taxes, like the Rockefellers might have, where you have millions and millions or billions of dollars, and the planning was done many years ago primarily for tax reasons. When we talk about trust for middle-class Americans, we're talking about avoiding the time, expense, and delay of probate. Because currently in the United States, any person can die and leave up to $11 million in change to someone without estate tax being imposed. And that will go up to $12 million in change in 2022, and it's pegged to inflation until 2025. So just because you're not a Rockefeller and have $100 million doesn't mean there's still not a reason for a trust. So CNN Money says, here's a good rule of thumb. If you have a net worth of at least $100,000 and you have a substantial amount of assets in real estate, or have very specific instructions on how and when you want your estate to be distributed among your heirs after you die, then a trust could be for you. Trusts are also great for minimizing estate taxes or protecting your estate from lawsuits and creditors. Trusts are flexible, varied, and complex. Each type has advantages and disadvantages which you should discuss thoroughly with your estate planning attorney before setting one up. So that does a good job there, I think, in just two short paragraphs discussing trust. And like I mentioned, they even mentioned there can be trusts set up to avoid estate taxes. But for the vast majority of middle-class Americans, that's not the type they need. It's more about thinking about having your assets get to your heirs you choose in an easy process without the time, expense, and delay of probate court. And as they touched on, if you have real estate, this is often one asset that pulls you into probate. And many people who have real estate would prefer to avoid that so that their heirs can administer or sell the property immediately. CNN Money says, take note, assets you want protected by the trust must be retitled in the name of the trust. Anything that is not titled to the trust when you die will have to go through probate. That, I think, is also very good advice at the end, and that's why we focus here at my office. If we're setting up a trust, we try to get your real estate into the trust right away by retitling it via deed. And then we discuss with you the process to retitle your bank accounts into the trust and your other assets. And or if you're younger, you can make the assets payable on death to the trust. My preference is to retitle during life, get it all taken care of, but of course the choice is up to you. So CNN Money gives that number of $100,000 if you have at least $100,000 and a substantial amount of assets in real estate. So that, I think, is a reasonable number you can think about using. In Wisconsin, the smallest state limit is $50,000. So if you have over $50,000, I don't have a way to avoid probate for you if you're between $50,000 and $100,000. But I can still see if you're between $50,000 and $100,000, you maybe think to yourself, I need this money now. I don't want to spend the extra money to set up a trust. So I'll just use a will, pay more to go through probate, but the money will come out after I'm gone out of my estate, and I need that money while I'm alive. You know, that's reasonable. That's a decision you can make if you're between that 50 and 100,000. Just be aware that in Wisconsin, by law, the limit is 50,000. So if you have 50,000 of equity in your house, we can't use that transfer by affidavit method to avoid probate. A simplified probate, I should say. You got to go through the full probate. But the $100,000 number, I think, makes good sense for when you should really start thinking about it. And then the more money you have, the more a trust can save you on the time, expense, and probate fees of the probate court, because the probate court applies the fee based on the total amount of assets flowing through that they have to administer. And that's how they pay the people at the courthouse to work in the probate office. So, like many things, nothing is free in life. You choose, do you want the government to administer your estate, or do you want to do it privately? And I thought this short summary here from CNN Money did a nice job of laying out the things to consider. Do I need a trust? It's a question I get asked all the time. I made this video. Hopefully it's helpful to you. If it has been helpful, please consider giving it a like so that others can see and benefit from this information. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.